Good morning, everyone. Happy Canada Day. And it seems like we've come a long way since 2015. And here's a meme to illustrate how far we've come. Justin Trudeau crowd surfing in 2015, him leaping off the stage and a happy crowd ready to catch him. And in 2019, he's leapt from the stage and there's an angry crowd watching him fall. And I think that's pretty close to accurate, despite what you hear in the corporate media. And speaking of corporate media, here's CBC Politics. And I want to note that if you subscribe to CBC Politics, probably you will know who Maxime Bernier is. Probably you would have at least casually watched as the Conservative Party split apart in August of 2018. And you probably would have watched the formation of the fastest growing political party in Canadian history. But not according to this tweet. According to this tweet, there's only 4 leaders whose election messages Canadians want to hear. So CBC Politics is tweeting, quote, "Who's got the election message Canadians want to hear?" And the responses point out very, very, very pointedly that they're forgetting someone. And I encourage you to check out the responses. We're just going to have a little scroll through, and you can see for yourself that there's a lot of memes that are supportive of Mr. Bernier. And that's, maybe not surprising. Maybe you think they're being brigaded, but there really isn't a lot of support. There really isn't. The top level comments are PPC, talking about how they forgot Maxime Bernier, People's Party, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting to see when people are allowed to comment, what happens. Because what happens is, it seems like a party that we're being told is polling at less than 1% and is a relative unknown and won't be a factor in this election, is getting a lot of public support. And these guys aren't. There's not a lot of people brigading back. Usually there's a lot of conversation saying, oh, we're really upset about these people saying these things that aren't true, right? Like we wish that our person would win, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there isn't a lot of dissent. It's a lot of, where's Max? It's interesting to watch. And I've been noticing the same when I'm out knocking on doors. A lot of people know who the party is. A lot of people are either hard no, because I'm in a very, very left riding, which is fine. No problems. We can disagree. We are in a democracy. They've heard of us and they don't want anything to do with us, or they're very supportive and they wish me luck. So, and the wish me luck is more often than not. There's, I can say exactly how many hard no's I've received personally, and that is 2 over all of the days I've been door knocking. And that's it. That's not bad, really. I get to about between 50 and 100 houses a night when I get out, and that's not bad, really. Okay, so interesting to note. And interesting to note, here is Park Property Management putting up a notice for all tenants of 100 Spadina Road on Thursday, June 6th, and it's recurring feces in the corridors. Over the last month, there have been numerous incidents throughout the buildings resulting in feces on various floors in the corridors, outside of people's apartments, and in the refuse rooms. This behavior is not only unacceptable, but exceptionally repugnant. And I'm just going to leave that there. You can read the rest of it if you like. But man, the things that pop up, we didn't have those issues 10 years ago, from what I can recall. And now it seems like it's more and more increasing at the same rate as the fentanyl, increasing at the same rate as illegal guns. These are issues that have been exacerbated and increased drastically in the last few years. And it's very concerning. People were not, I don't think, happy with the direction that Toronto's going with managing the gang violence and the gun violence, and the federal government's crackdown on legal firearms is not going to solve that problem, because the people who are committing the violent crime with the guns in Toronto, with the gangs and the guns, they don't care about the laws. These guns that they're shooting with are already illegal. Anyway, really. Here's global news, and I thought this was a strange thing to post on Canada Day, and they don't come to a conclusion in the article. It's just a way to push a whole bunch of anti-nationalism propaganda, really, and we're going to go through it. We're going to have a look at it because it's interesting. Global News is reporting, quote, "If the goal of a national anthem is nation building, is it necessary? Is it still necessary more than 150 years after Canada's creation? We asked experts to weigh in." And here's the article at the bottom. Oops. "True patriot love. Do national anthems still matter?" Chances are you'll watch a flag wave on Canada Day, red and white, rippling, and add your voice to the crowd, promising in song to stand on guard for the nation. While the flag is a highly visible symbol of Canada, it's the communal singing of O Canada that experts say really contributes to nation building. And if the goal of the anthem is nation building, is it still necessary more than 150 years after Canada's creation? Where do anthems come from? Songs designated to, quote, unite the population around shared values started to emerge in the 18th and 19th centuries, says Julia Wright, a professor of English and university research professor at Dalhousie University. France gets La Marseillaise, and Britain gets Rule Britannia. It's very much tied to the idea that the nation isn't the king or queen, but it's the entire population of the country, she says, or at least the entire population of a particular political movement. There's the division, right? You're not part of the country if your political team's not in charge, right? No, not how it works. Okay, back to the article. It was an effective way of communicating, Wright explains. Books were expensive at the time, and literacy was beyond many people's reach. There's this sort of thinking of songs as a way of communicating political principles and shared values, as well as uniting the population through a communal act. She says the state anthems we have now are kind of extension of that. Think about going to a baseball game, basketball game, or hockey game, says Jagmeet, no, I'm not going to try it. Sorry, a professor in English and cultural studies at McMaster University. People stand up and they sing the anthem before the game starts. Usually, she says, unless they do something in protest, like Kaepernick and other NFL players who take a knee, and there's a link to the take the knee thing during a national anthem. You don't think much of it, but the reality is, anthems started as a way to mobilize support for war efforts. So interesting connections there, eh? People stand up and they sing the anthem before a game starts, and then she ties it directly to Colin Kaepernick and all of that controversy, and then to war efforts. It's just a lot of interesting connections, and probably, leaps, if you ask me. At that point, I started going, let's see if they actually come to a conclusion. And they don't come to a conclusion. I scroll down a whole bunch, and they say the English lyrics of O Canada are less restrictive. However, he says, while there are still references to ancestors, there's a reference to Canadians being born here, quote, our home and native land, and that excludes recent immigrants as well as Indigenous people. From a religious standpoint, he said, the lyrics, God keep our land, also exclude atheists. So the problematic terms around the national anthem, on Canada Day, that's something we really need to explore. And as I said, they don't come to a conclusion. They just kind of spin around in circles talking about how symbols have power and blah, 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 blah. What an offensive, ridiculous thing to post on Canada Day. If you want to examine the value of a national anthem, maybe do it on a day that's not Canada Day. Maybe think about that December 26th. But you'll be reporting on shopping, really. I wanted to look at all the leaders' posts for Canada Day. And, yes, I'm going to subject us to Trudeau and his head bobbing, because it's interesting. He takes a minute and a half to wish Canada a happy birthday, but he says, you listen, and then I'll tell you what I think. Here we go.
Birthday, Canada. Whether you're watching the fireworks, firing up the grill, or getting outside with your kids, today we celebrate the amazing place we call home. In the last 4 years, Canadians have created more than 1 million new jobs. Unemployment is at its lowest since the 70s, and across the country, 825,000 Canadians have been lifted out of poverty. There's never been more opportunity or more progress to share in, and that's thanks to Canadians like you. We're an example to the world because of the way we treat each other. We're neighbors helping neighbors, small businesses lifting communities up, men and women in uniform keeping us safe, families opening hearts and homes to newcomers in need, friends who might as well be family. That's the heart of our success and the story of Canada. We know we've still got work to do. Not everyone benefits equally from Canada's success. We need to change that and make sure we all move forward together. That means supporting Canada's workers, creating more opportunity, and growing the middle class. And it means fighting climate change so we can leave our kids a healthy world. I know we'll step up to the challenges we're facing just like we've always done, because no challenge is too great if we face it together. From my family to yours, happy Canada Day.
So a couple of things with that. It's politicking, clear politicking, in my opinion, like the listing off the successes, right? Which, okay, every politician's going to do that. Forgive him that, but I just wanted to point it out. Everyone benefits equally. That is not possible. You can't have equality of outcome. You cannot have it. You can't legislate it. You can't make it happen. It is not possible. You can't legislate utopia. I'm sorry, Justin. That's not how the world works, okay? And equal chance. Growing the middle class. I thought it was interesting. He said, we want to increase the middle class, but he wasn't talking. I don't know that he's talking about the Canadian middle class. I don't know that he is because of the amount of money he's spending outside of Canada. I think he's talking about maybe the global middle class. We have to increase the global middle class, and that's going to be on our taxpayer dollars. And I don't think that that's right. So I thought it was interesting. So those are my little notes from this. And I think that it's interesting that on Canada Day, again, he says, we've got work to do. Well, okay, sure. Again, we can have work to do on every other day of the year. This is our birthday, right? Happy Canada Day. And let's celebrate all of the wonderful successes that we have, all of the wonderful things that our country has to offer, all of the freedoms that we enjoy year in. Oh, maybe that's why you're talking about the work we still have to do, because you're not done shutting those down. Maybe the reason you're not celebrating all of those things is because under your administration, the revenue investing in Canada is at an all-time low. The revenue created from our oil fields is also very low. And the spending and deficits that you promised would be $1 billion. We'd have a $1 billion surplus, you said, in 2019. But now instead we've got a $20 billion deficit, and you're spending $20 billion outside of Canada. Not spending in Canada, not building Canada, spending it outside of Canada. And then telling Canadians that we've got work to do on Canada Day? No, sorry. Here's Andrew Scheer. He says, what's the best way to celebrate Canada Day? Seeing as much of it as you can. I'll be traveling from, I'm not going to try that, New Brunswick to Toronto to Kelowna all in one day tomorrow to meet as many Canadians as I can. Happy Canada Day. The first thing that jumps out to me is climate change hypocrisy. How many flights are you going to get on? Okay, but okay. One or the other, right? It's an emergency or it's not. Maxime Bernier says, Happy Canada Day festivities. And this was yesterday. He tweeted this out, June 30th. Let's keep our country strong and free. And he does it in English and French, and he's got a Canadian flag. I haven't seen a Canada Day tweet from Jagmeet Singh yet. I looked, and it's he hasn't posted today. This is a pinned tweet, so it's the platform, and nothing from today. And Elizabeth May hasn't posted anything yet either. So I'm not going to make the mistake of CBC News and not include all 5 leaders, because really, these are the top 5, right? And whether you agree or disagree, that's who's going to be on the ballot this year. So that's worth noting. And for Canada Day, to sign us off, I'm going to play the Canadian National Anthem. And watching this is a retro Ontario video, and watching this, I don't know how anybody could say that there's no core national identity for Canadians. And this is Ontario, so this is what I grew up with. This is nostalgic for me, but I know that across Canada, there are scenes like this. And this is part of our heritage. This is part of who we are. It's not all of who we are, right? But this matters. This matters a lot. And in the age of globalism, in the age of United Nations and EU central rule, and the idea that somehow nationalism is a bad thing, I say that it is not. I say that we need to have strong leaders stand up for our strong values on the world stage in a strong way, not in a saber-rattling way, not in a virtue signaling, pushing our ideology on other people way, this is how we do it in Canada, and we're proud of ourselves, and we have done these great things, and we're willing to share it with you. That's why are we ashamed of ourselves? We should not be ashamed of ourselves. We have a wonderful, wonderful history, and we're a wonderful people. And not that we deserve to be recognized internationally for it, but we should recognize ourselves now to say, yes, we are wonderful. And yes, we have a rich history. And no, we're not a post-national state. There is a core central identity, a core of what Canada is. And yes, this was from 1979, so it's a lot of landscapes and stuff. But man, I hope you get what I mean. Have a wonderful Canada Day, everyone. Here we go.